Right, after starting several successive episodes off on a very sort of sombre or miserable note, we can finally begin this one with some good news. Sir Sean Dyche is no longer the England manager. Hello everyone and welcome back to the start of Season 7 of Norwich City, bouncing back, and it's great to be here. There were times last season where it didn't look very likely, but we have indeed made it. If you haven't watched the last episode, make sure you go and watch it. As you can probably work out, we did win the Euro Cup 2 final against Eintracht Frankfurt. It was a fantastic performance, one of the best performances in years, and thus we qualified for the Europa League, and thus we have saved our job. We are still in charge. We are now an icon of the club, and we've been given one more season, but that's not all we have been given. Sean Dyche has gone as England manager. He was not sacked, he resigned, but he went, and the FA have chosen their successor, and wouldn't you know it, it is us. I did apply for it, but we were also offered the France job and Italy job. The news article about Sean Dyche leaving said we were the overwhelming favourite, so I think it would have happened. I just wanted to make it a sure thing, but we are now the England manager. Frank Lampard apparently not even in the conversation, which is good. So this is going to be obviously not the main focus of the save. We won't do any sort of qualifiers and things like that. But when it comes to tournaments, as long as we make it there, we will do an episode focusing on that. We might do an episode for our first matches in charge, because we've got the Nations League coming up, which is of course more interesting than qualifiers. We have got Portugal as our first game. That's a pretty big one, so I think we may well come back for that. The biggest problem I am noticing in the England squad, quite simply, is it's getting up there in age. And this is the issue we have with signing players for Norwich, is that there's not really many youngsters coming through. There's a few, but Michael Hansen of Brighton is the only regen in the England squad at the moment. The biggest issue is, as we've mentioned this before, the biggest issue is defensive and sort of more defensive midfield. There's lots of strikers, there's lots of wingers, but it's the sort of defensive midfield, centre backs, full backs, goalkeepers. There's not all that many youngsters coming through, even at the top clubs. So not only can we not get them, but they're just not really there. Now, Sean Dyche left after leading England to the semi-final of the World Cup. They lost on penalties to Spain after taking the lead. They managed to beat Holland and Argentina along the way, so very unfortunate to lose out in such a fashion, but it's another semi-final defeat for England. Of course, he did actually win the Euros a few years ago, so yeah, I mean, we'll see if we can match that one and hopefully win the World Cup as well. But back to the main business at hand, our transfer business, of course. And well, as we just said, the issues that are visible in the England squad have been causing us problems in the summer so far. We've not made quite maybe as many drastic moves as I was thinking. It's difficult to sell players, and also there's really not that many players out there who are actually an improvement on what we've already got, which is a concern, unless we want to get in a load of more sort of 29, 30-year-olds, which I don't think is particularly sensible. We have done that for one of the positions, but it's an interesting time of things. So as to the players who have gone, well, not many, and we haven't made much money. We could potentially have had sales of £96 million based on the bids that were accepted. However, the actual total of sales is about 7 million, because, well, we'll talk about it as we go through. The released players first of all, and it's a goodbye for Callum Wilson, one of the worst transfers I've ever made on Football Manager. Normally, Callum Wilson, he is Mr. Football Manager. He's ridiculously good, and you know, he did get 7 goals in the league for us, 10 overall, which is not atrocious, but that's his last vestige of good form. He has had 2 loan spells last season where we recovered a little tiny bit of money for him. Atlanta United didn't score a goal. Toulouse didn't score a goal. He's gone to Bristol City on a free. Other players who have gone, a lot of youngsters that were signed, mostly that were here before us. Daniel Adsaid, he's gone to Fulham. Zach Dronfield as well. And Andrew Obamadile as well has gone to Inter Miami. Basically, I renewed all these people's contracts initially to try and sell them on. Constantly we're trying to sell them, constantly trying to offer them out. No one was getting any interest whatsoever. So the fact that Adsaid's gone to Fulham and he's valued at 8.75 million irritates me, because I would have taken anything. I'd have taken £500,000 for him. Was trying to do it all year. No one was ever interested. And the other departures, there's not been many. Ben Gibson, as we already know, has gone on a free to Rayo Vallecano. Tyrese Omotoye, who did well in flashes back in the Championship. We lost him on a free. We got him back for £875,000 from Mainz, and barely played him. He's been out on loan a couple of times. We've now sold him to Augsburg for £6 million. So if nothing else, it's a good bit of business. Taylor Oakes is also going out on loan. He's joining Callum Wilson at Bristol City. It's just kind of, he was one of our he's probably the most sort of promising regen in terms of current ability for a while, but he's been overtaken by other players, particularly Ryan Davis, so wasn't really going to get much game time. Needs to develop. This will hopefully be what does it for him. 2 games already, got a 7.05, so he's doing well. And then the only other major departure from the first team is Reece Nelson. I wasn't initially intending on getting rid of him, but we'll talk about that in a second. We offered him out permanently. We did accept a bid from Wolves for 30 million for him, which would have been a profit. We paid 28 million last year. He rejected the contract, obviously, which is just lovely of him. So no one else was interested. No other bids came in. So, well, apart from loan bids is what we've accepted. He's gone to Southampton for a reasonable loan fee. They're paying most of his wages for the season. He's only 26. There's still a player there. There's still some potential, some improvement, some value. At least he's valued at 43 million. We don't want to, let him go for significantly less than that if we can. So hopefully he has a good year at Southampton. Maybe we'll then use him. If not, we'll be able to sell him on. But really, a 6.63 average rating over the course of the year is awful. His overall rating was still only a 6.78. That's not good enough. And yeah, we needed to get someone else in, and he was the one to go. So what about our signings? Well, we've only made 2. We've still spent over 90 million, which you'll see. But yeah, it's just, as I said, it's been really difficult getting people in. There's not really anyone particularly who is actually better than what we've already got, apart from the players who are A, not interested, B, we can't afford them, C, we can't afford their wages, D, the clubs don't want to sell them to us even if they were interested, E, there's so many reasons. A lot of them are like 29, 30, 31 by this point, so not really the most long-term investment if you're going to drop 50 million on them. So it's been a bit frustrating, but we have, I believe, improved the 2 biggest weaknesses last season. That was the wings, particularly right wing and centre back. And well, this is the centre back we got in. Hayden Roberts has joined us from Brighton and Hove Albion, one of our main rivals in the save. Really, £25 million is what we've paid. Had a very good season for Brighton last year. I think 6.98 overall is not too bad. He's done progressively better over the course of his career. He's been on loan a few times. He starts the game on loan at Rochdale. Only 2.5-star rating, but for me, I think actually he is exceptional. You can see there the amount of positives in his coach report are very nice. The attributes are very, very solid, and the main thing is that he is left-footed. He is a naturally left-footed centre-back, which we have not had apart from Ben Gibson, and he dropped off in a massive way. And all of his attributes compared to Ethan Ampadu are, I mean, on paper, Ampadu is a better player, but for me, the key thing here, Ethan Ampadu's biggest weakness was he only has 12 heading. Well, Roberts has got 14 heading. That's significantly better. Marking, passing, tackling, technique, first touch, decisions, concentration, composure, pace, positioning, vision. None of them are below 12, and that's only the technique. He is very, very well-rounded, very solid, and I think alongside Chris Mepham, having that left foot, that could be the difference. So that was the more sensible one. This one, I mean, reckless. It's a good job we've got money, right? We've got over 100 million in the bank, so that's okay, but not the most long-term transfer. We've signed David Brooks. He's 29 years old at this point. There's no doubting his brilliance, but we have sort of emulated when Real Madrid have signed Eden Hazard here. But look, we'll talk about the fee in a minute, but what matters is how good he is, and he is a significant upgrade, I believe, on everything we've got, potentially including Buendia. But on the right hand side, he is left-footed, he is natural in the role, and well, the standouts: 16 dribbling, 16 pace, acceleration of 15 is not bad, agility of 17, but the key thing really, the 18 flair, 17 off the ball, and the 18 vision along with the 16 technique. He is exceptionally good at finding the right pass, and the absolute key thing is the finishing of 15. We now have a winger who is incredibly good at both setting up goals and at scoring them. Now the fee is, oh god, it's a club record fee, which great, 66 million. It's definitely more reckless than anything we've done before. It's mostly in instalments. I think we've only paid, well, I say mostly, 40 million up front. The rest of it's in instalments. There are some add-ons as well. It could potentially rise to over 80 million, but he has to be really good for that to happen, so it's not guaranteed. He has had a fantastic few years. He has had a fantastic last 4 seasons. These two with Bournemouth were very good. He then moved to Lyon, and in Liga, especially last season, 14 goals, 10 assists, 7.21 average rating. I like it a lot. That's why it's cost a lot of money ultimately. Yes, it's not a long-term investment, but this could be the difference to get us back into the Europa League, at least potentially higher. So we brought in a new right winger, but you've also let go one of the left wingers. So how are you going to solve that problem? Well, we're going to solve that problem quite simply by playing Emi Buendia on the left-hand side. We've talked about it as a possibility. He is not necessarily natural in it, but actually he is probably just as good as he is on the other side. He is, of course, right-footed, so playing as an inverted winger on the left-hand side will probably suit him better. We're training him up there. He's already improved quite a bit. His attributes are good enough for him to be able to do it, I think. Obviously, the finishing is an issue. It's not ideal, but I think his overall quality, playing on a side which he actually should be more comfortable on, should help out quite a lot. Now, the price for David Brooks wouldn't have been as bad. We were going to sell Emi Buendia. We did accept a bid from Barcelona for £62 million. I thought, he's 29, he's Argentinian, there's no way he's going to turn down Barcelona. He turned the contract down. We couldn't believe it, but here we are. He wants to stay in Norfolk. He loves it so much, and really, who can blame him? But I think it may be a case that we're not going to ever get the true big value for Buendia. He's just going to be here, and overall, I did criticise him last season. He's not gone over a 7 for a while, but he's not done all. I mean, he got 7 goals last year. Like a bit more than that. The assists of 2 isn't great, but he's done okay. And maybe on the left, I'm hoping he could really, really improve. Now, we have still got 35 million to spend. As I say, there's not really anyone else to really bring in that's significantly better than what we've got, unfortunately. Just kind of the reality of the situation that we are in with our sort of lack of Champions League football and lack of resources compared to this traditional top 6, and just the lack of massive amounts of players coming through. But of course, we need to have an improvement on last season. It was, in the end, a successful year. We did win 2 trophies, but we didn't qualify for the Europa League through the league. We ended up with fewer points than we had in the previous seasons. We've kind of been sort of stuck around that 63-point mark, 60 points last year. We need to improve. We need to make sure we get back in the Euro Cup or Europa League at the very, very, very least. And if we can do well in the other cups, maybe even win the Europa League again, that would be good. Season preview wise, we are predicted to finish in 7th place, I believe. Yes, 7th place. So, I mean, that would potentially be enough. Well, no, that would only be enough for Euro Cup 2 anyway. We want to be getting ahead of Arsenal and Spurs. We normally finish ahead of Spurs at the very least, and Arsenal usually as well. So we're going to play our first game of the season, which for the first time in forever is not against Southampton. Last 2 seasons, 4-0 wins against Southampton on the opening day. It has not heralded in a season of goodwill to all mankind, but hopefully this one will. Leicester City are the opponents. They did not have a very good season last year, nearly got relegated in the end. We need to get a win because we've got West Brom, who we always struggle against, and then we've got Man City and Liverpool, who we often struggle against, and then Spurs as well. So yeah, we need a win on the opening day. So team and tactic, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to stick to what mostly generally worked. When we changed it last season, we got off to a pretty rocky start, and that kind of set the tone for the rest of the season. We're going to stick to what we know for now, but with some sort of tweaks game to game, tweaks in game as well. For now, I have set both wide players on attack rather than just one on support. That's probably something we're going to do more at home to break down teams. Probably not so much for away games. We're also going to tweak the mentality as well. We'll go to positive more often, and we will also change the out of possession instructions to play a higher line if we need to try and break teams down, obviously bearing in mind potential balls over the top. But for the most part, it's going to be the same. And this is the lineup that I'm going to go with from the start of the season. Dean Henderson is going to be in goal. He's still here. We did put a bid in for Aaron Ramsdale. He would be more than we could afford. He's probably going to go to Arsenal, which is a little bit unfortunate, but I'm prepared to back Henderson again. He didn't impress me last year, but his stats weren't awful. So, well, we'll see how he gets on. Lewis and Aarons are, of course, the fullbacks. They had their best years ever last season, actually, despite the overall general poor form of the team. So we'll see how well they got on. I'm going to put Hayden Roberts in from the start alongside Chris Mepham. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm backing. We have got a bid in, actually, for Ethan Ampadu from Hertha Berlin. It's a lot of money. I'm considering it. The issue, as we've said, is there's not really anyone else we could potentially get in to replace him. But I'm thinking about that. Ethan Ampadu may well go if I can find someone else worth bringing in. Midfield is going to be Cook, Chowdhury and Maddison. Buendia, of course, is now going to be on the left, along with David Brooks on the right. And as we said last time, Murray McCunny, the hero of the Euro Cup 2 final, is going to get the nod up front from the start. His attributes would suggest that he could be very, very, very good if he isn't already, and it's time we gave him the go from the off. So Leicester have caused us issues, but not so much last season. Last year they did not do very well. So who knows what this year could bring? We have no idea. Can we continue the form that we showed in the Euro Cup 2 final last year? That was probably the best performance in a couple of seasons, really. We can continue that today. We will be in, hopefully with a good showing. First highlight is Jamal Lewis. He's made a throw in and he's found a teammate. Lewis Cook is there, and we go through the middle to try and do something. Maybe Leicester sitting quite deep here. McCunny works it to Buendia. Chowdhury, David Brooks working it quite well. It's a lovely, lovely move, and David Brooks gets off to the best possible start with his first goal for the club. If we can do that more often, that would be brilliant. I mean, lovely, lovely passing, sensible, beautiful, patient play, waiting for the moment to strike. The run from Brooks, timed to perfection, and McCunny as well drags two defenders out of the way. Very smart play from him. It's a great finish from David Brooks, justifying the investment already. But here come Leicester on the break. Roberts, though, trying to get the danger. He's forcing Henrique wide. Good defending from the new signing. Well, very sensible. They've got a free kick, though. Henrique plays it in. Dean Henderson, well, he hit the crossbar. Dean, I don't think he was really near that. We've got a corner. Can we keep doing some good corners? McCunny nods it over, giving it away. That's not the kind of corners that won us so many points towards the end of last season. Solomon racing down the right-hand side. We're looking a little bit stretched here. We're back in numbers. Lewis Cook, don't tackle him. He's on a yellow card. Dean Henderson actually catches the ball, which is good to see. Tries to set us away for a counter-attack. McCunny gets there, knocks it down. Emi Buendia on the left. It's a terrible, terrible shot. Another corner, though. Maddison again puts it in. Mepham is there. And that's the combination that saved our job in so many ways. Maddison to Mepham. It's 2-0. Of course, James Maddison against his old club, where he didn't have anywhere near as much success as he's had on his return to this one. It's a beautiful delivery. Chris Mepham in the right place once again. I think if we can go 3-0 up, that's always a good sign. Brooks knocks it in. It's a good ball, but cleared by Fofana, although only as far as Lewis Cook. And Brooks is in again, and he's very nearly scored. It's a great save. Very, very unlucky. Pressure still going. Maddison on the turn. Back to Jamal Lewis. Cross coming in from him. Short to Maddison. McCunny's there. And this is going too well. This happened the last two seasons. We know how they went. Murray McCunny's got his first of the season. It's a beautiful finish from the young Scot. I mean, yes, really good. Maddison holds it up very sensibly. Lewis, he thinks about going back. He knows there's a chance here. Goes past the defenders. Beautiful ball from Maddison. It's a sweeping finish from McCunny. Under the goalkeeper. It's 3-0. I knew it. I knew it must be going too well. There's 2 minutes added on. We've gone over, and Hamza Chowdhury's now injured. Potential foot injury, hopefully not too serious. Calvin Phillips is a perfectly acceptable replacement. If he's broken his foot or something in injury time of the half where we've gone 3-0 up, and it was over the amount of time added on, then I'm not going to be very happy with the referee. Into the second half, and Leicester, they're not out of this. Dean Henderson, again, they've hit the crossbar for the second time. Henderson just flapping all over the place. We can make it 4 though. Maddison to Roberts. Hayden Roberts gets his first goal for the club. Both the debutants scoring, as well as the youngster and the vice captain. Chris Mepham now the vice captain. Lewis Cook is the captain, but Chris Mepham's now the vice captain. It's 4-0 again. I'm having the most horrendous deja vu. 3 years in a row that we have been 4-0 up on the opening game of the season. Right, I don't think Leicester are going to come back from this. If I'm honest, I've taken off both Maddison and Brooks because I think they could be the key to this. And there we go. I was hoping we would add another one just so it's not exactly the same, but there we are. 4-0 on the opening day of the season again for the 3rd year running. At least it's not against Southampton. And I mean, that was a good performance, wasn't it? That was really good. That was really very good. Please don't be another false dawn. pleased. I don't want to have it 3 years in a row. See, this was the problem last year. We won the first 2 games and then we were top of the league and the board were like, oh, well, we're on for Champions League football. That was one of the things they held against me when they nearly sacked me last year. Anyway, it's fine. It's going to be fine. Howie's Chowdhury. He's twisted his ankle. He's out for 3 weeks. That's okay. That's not too bad. But there we go. What a performance. James Maddison with 3 assists already. That's more than he's got in some whole seasons. I mean, he only got 6 last year, 10 overall. I mean, he's got 3 in one game. But I hope he's not used up his entire assist allowance for the entire rest of the season. But anyway, that is going to be that. It's happened again. As long as what happened afterwards doesn't happen, as long as it's better than that, we'll be okay. West Brom away as a second game doesn't fill me with confidence. If we can come out of that one, I will be pleased. So then, we will be back. As said, I think actually we will be back for our first 2 games as England manager. It's a special occasion. I feel we need to mark them. And considering that our first opponents are Portugal, that's pretty big. So we will be back in the start of September for our first 2 England games. As to Norwich, well, we will be back probably a little bit after that one. Most likely around October. We've got 2 games here that will kind of mark how well our season's going to go. Aston Villa and Brighton and Hove Albion, 2 teams that have finished above us last season. So as to Norwich, we'll be back probably around October time. I think it depends on how the Europa League draw goes. I mean, there's an international break in between these 2 games, which is irritating, because what I would like to do is play Aston Villa and Brighton if those games don't get moved around, because both of these teams have finished above us in the table the last 2 seasons. So this is going to be a real test and a real marker of how well our year is going to go. I don't know, something around then, but that is definitely going to be that for today. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of the transfers as well. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. We're into our 7th season now. Who knows how things are going to go, and I'll see you next time.